Now, exams are becoming more popular, more prevalent, more important. But generally, with exams, there are three variables. There's the school, the student, and the teacher. Now, it may be a little cynical, but schools will look at a student, and a student doing an exam has a need. If somebody has a need, you can exploit it. And schools do exploit it. They can dictate how long the course is going to be. For teachers, there's pressure on the teacher to get the student over the line. Nobody really thinks about the student and the student needs. If you think about the student need isn't just getting the result. The student need is preparing the student, maybe for work, maybe for study, or maybe it's just a sense of achievement the student wants. If it's for study, most students will think TOEFL or IELTS. But if you talk to the student and tell them, colleges, I'm sure in UCC, but most colleges do accept other exams. And there are different exams the students can do, and some of the exams are better set for the student's skill set. Students have different skill sets. With our group of students, we found some students were very strong with productive skills, some students very strong with receptive skills. So if you analyse the student properly, you can point them towards an exam that will be better set for them. Now, everyone generally puts students towards IELTS, but IELTS can be a horrible, horrible exam. For example, question 1 in the writing. Question 1 is generally a graph. Describe a graph. And you're giving them a skill set to describe a graph. Now, I was an art student. I'm sure most of you were art students. I never described a graph. And I certainly didn't describe something like this. And for a student, it's very daunting to go into an exam and be faced with something like this and have to describe it. Or even worse, a gas-cooled nuclear reactor. When a student is faced with that, it's unbelievably daunting. And most students will come away from exams not with a sense of what they can do, but what they can't do. And this should all be based on the CEF or things students can do. But most will come away knowing what they can't do. And that's not good for the student. And again, maybe for a lot of them, it's just a sense of achievement they want from the exam. And if they come faced with this and come away from the exam, they don't get that. They come deflated, and it will turn them away from languages. So for us in DBS, we had a group of students, and they came in at A1, A2 to do the IELTS, and there was a lot of pressure putting us from an external partner to get them over the line. Now, we also had to prepare them for the courses they were going to be doing. So we were thinking, right, we have pressure from here, but we do need to prepare the students. The IELTS doesn't prepare them for college. This does not prepare them for college. The speaking test doesn't prepare them for college. Speaking in college, you're going to be presenting, you're going to be asking questions, you're going to be having discussions. The listening doesn't prepare them, and the reading, we're teaching them 2 basic skills, skimming, scanning. And again, this isn't very useful for third level study. So, we developed a bit of a program, and Andrew will speak about some of this, but we developed a program to integrate into the general course and the exam course. But it can be done separately, and for those of you who are starting exam prep courses, some of this can be very useful. ESP. Obviously there were some problems with ESP, Gavin.
Yes.
Yes, okay, sorry. So we tried to develop an ESP program, maybe not that successfully. ESP program for their individual subjects. We had engineering, ICT, medical, what else do we have? Business, and art and design, and architecture. And an ESP course is quite simple. It's not that difficult to design, and it doesn't have to be too complicated. Again, you just want to get the students familiar with the vocabulary, talking about the subjects they're going to study. And even if it's only an hour or 2 hours a week, again, it will just familiarise them with the language. Grammar workshops, again, for some of the lower level students. And grammar, we try to stay away from grammar, but in college, if you're writing a paper, it has to be accurate. There are certain structures they're going to need. So we had grammar workshops for the lower students, intercambio classes that we fiddled about with a little bit. Basically discussion classes. Sometimes students chose the topic, sometimes we gave them the topic. Sometimes they got the topic on the day of the class, sometimes the week before. But again, to develop their speaking skills and their discussion skills. Critical thinking classes, as Michael, where is he? There he is, Michael, as you were saying, like generating ideas for the writing. Again, the IELTS, you open the paper and it can be anything. you're faced with for the essay. And the biggest problem for students is, I don't know anything about this, how can I write about it? So we had critical thinking classes, so students could develop their thinking skills, that they're faced with a topic, how to plan it out, how to react to certain things. Book club, very basic thing, take a Cambridge reader, go off, read it, come back, present, write a report. And the students really got into it. And we said to them, okay, not just Cambridge readers, take anything from the library. Language project, which Andrew will particularly talk about, we put up listening links on Moodle to help with their listening skills, and then college writing courses, more academic writing. Now, all of these worked very successfully. They were electives for students. Students could choose which ones they were going to do. Some students we pushed into particular areas. So we developed this program, and out of 64 students, we got all but one over the line. It was a good course. They got their exam because it's skills that they would need for IELTS. So they did get over the line, but in terms of college now, we developed the other skills that they're going to need for college. So Andrew will talk about some of the topics, but I would say to you, for an exam prep class, do a needs analysis with the students, an in-depth analysis. Look at the skills, look what they're lacking, even what they're going to do after the exam. Study, work, or if it's just for themselves. But always focus the prep class on the students. Andrew.
Okay, now that Leo's outlined the theoretical end of what we're discussing, I want to show maybe some practical classwork that I did with my students in the language project. I suppose I should say something up front, right, that I'm an ELT pretender right now, because I'm new to I came in the complete opposite to the way you guys have probably come into the EAP world. You were probably ELT teachers first, and then became EAP teachers. I would be right in guessing that, would I? Most of you did it. I did it the other way. I was an EAP teacher for 7-8 years, and then I became an ELT teacher. So I've done it backwards, just to be challenging. But so I was used to teaching these kind of language projects. I was used to teaching English second language students college writing skills, and then I became an ELT teacher to round out my skill set. But one of the classes I taught last year, mostly last year, was over the last couple of years, was this English language project, and I would get a group of students who, our students would all in this particular cohort were Brazilian students, and they're coming to DBS to do an English language program and then move into some of our schools and study in certain areas in our schools. And some of them would be ICT students, and I would take them for a project in the evening after they've done their morning classes and set them a project. Dr. Madeline Lies and I worked on that. We take these smaller groups. I think she was doing the design groups and some of the engineering groups, and I was doing the ICT groups. But the idea was to give them a 7-week course. They move from one. They do a few of these courses over the few months they were with us. But they would design a task, create an imaginative group presentation, and a 1,600-word group report on a topic of their choosing. And the idea was they would form into groups and come up and decide on a topic in their field, and then I would facilitate. It was very much about facilitating the classroom and facilitating the growth of these projects, and they would gain experience by actually doing the project. And the project would usually involve primary and secondary research. So they would be encouraged to put together a 1,600-word report. It sounds like a small report, but when you're an English second language student, it's actually a big report. But they would do some kind of a survey in their field and some kind of secondary research. The idea being that they're going to go on to be students. They're going to be academic students. They're not here to learn just the English language and then go back to their native countries. They're here to take a third-level course from us or somewhere else. So they need certain skills. They need to be able to learn to write academic papers. They need to be able to give presentations. And so it's not about just being able to communicate. It's about being able to do what I'm doing here, right now. Offering a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation to the class, and then working in a group, because group work is so important as well. So we developed this is just an example of how we developed this coursework. Week one, we'd have them form, they'd brainstorm in the groups. A couple of different ideas that we had. I think one of the really great ideas. These students were brilliant. The Brazilian students that we had. These guys are going to be millionaires someday. I'm sure of it. They just the ideas they were coming up with one of the ideas was they examined the Dublin bus technology, the real-time technology, and they're IT students. They're really interested in how that worked, and they did their research, and they went around and they surveyed people to find out if it really worked, and they went to all the bus stops to see if the real-time was real-time, and it wasn't. So, but it was interesting, and they were interested in the technology behind it, and it was just great to have the passion. But the point is that in the morning they're doing English language training, they're learning their grammar, they're learning their communicative speaking, and then they're putting that together in a classroom with me for 2 hours. They're working on this project, they're putting this project together, and I'm facilitating this project as it's developed. Another group did something on cloud computing, was absolutely brilliant too. But you can see the structure here, this is just a 7-week course. This structure is the structure of what they're going to be doing in 12-week courses. Okay, they're going to be putting out a topic proposal together. They're going to get a topic. We're going to examine this subject area. We're going to look at this secondary research. We're going to do this primary research. They have to put the topic, and in the classes that we would teach in DBS, again, 12 weeks would be similar to this. They have to gather their secondary material, and they're students in their home country, so they know secondary research, they know primary research. They just don't know the English language. They need the language. They need to target vocabulary to do this in the English language. They already know how to do it in Portuguese, but we have to teach them how to do it in the English language. And then most importantly, the writing and academic skills. Being able to write, and I said, I find it really interesting. And the students, they love it when I say this to them, that you're going to be a better writer than me someday. I'm going to hurry along here to the most exciting part, and I'm going to encourage you to do this. I don't normally show, because you shouldn't show your students' work, but this is publicly available on the internet, so I am going to show it. Wordpress blogging. I do a course with them where I set up WordPress blogs. So we do that project work, which I had outlined there. It was a longer class, a 12-week course. They set up WordPress blogs, and they do their research through these WordPress blogs. And these are a couple of students. One of my students was a brilliant mathematician, and he did a project on the Irish Mathematical Olympiad. Never heard of it, but it's big. I think UCC might be involved in it. I know UCD and Trinity are involved in it. And this young man did an excellent report on this. And another one of my students, brilliant young man, did an excellent report on he noticed in the classroom, or in their housing, they didn't have very good television. So he wanted to design some kind of an app that would allow them to watch television. It was just brilliant stuff. Like I said, this young man will be a millionaire someday. Watch that website, because he's invests in whatever he puts out there shortly. Anyway, I'll just wrap it up, but I'll say there's a lot of interesting ways to teach these skills, beyond English language teaching, to actually teach them the target vocabulary and the skills, and to translate, what we're teaching them in the afternoon to what they need in the boardroom or in the classroom. And we should be very aware of what we're doing. Okay? Thank you.
This is just a question for Andrew.
Yep.
If you're doing a 12-week project on something relating to blogging, I've tried that before, but the students, some of them just dropped off and lost interest because it was such a long-term thing.
Yeah.
How do you maintain interest in a project like this? Because I think it's a fantastic idea.
It's definitely, you're workshopping with them every day. A lot of them, like these two guys, did something very specific. I allowed them to do whatever they wanted. That was key first too. So a lot of these guys focused on areas they were interested in. Some of them focused on, like I had a young student who was going to dentistry, so she has a dentist, teaching everybody about proper oral health care. And then I had others who were a bit more into the Dublin party scene, so they did something on pubs in Ireland. Okay, but the thing is that they're engaging in a project, they're writing about it, so it's whatever they're interested in. So I spend the first week, like, what are you interested in? These were individual projects, these weren't group projects too, which was a little bit different too. But WordPress blogging, free, accessible, and easy to use. If you don't WordPress blog yourself, you can go on and learn how to WordPress blog, just like that.
One question.
Yep.
Did you encourage them to comment on each other's blogs?
Yeah, you can. It's like this is open access. Like I said, I would never bring in a student's work and put it up, but this is open access. This is on the internet. They have set up these blogs. It's out there for all of us. Okay, you can create access so nobody can see it, but this is on the internet. So I linked this all together. So they would make comments. I would make comments. I set up a blog page, and we just work. You can comment on other people's blogs. You can link it to Facebook. There's a lot of fun things you can do with a WordPress blog.